Good afternoon, and a warm welcome to ChildLink's discussion program dedicated to fostering awareness and understanding on crucial issues affecting our community. I'm your host, Tiana Jordan. I am ChildLink's Advocacy and Communications Officer, and it's a pleasure to be here with you this afternoon. Over the last few weeks, we've been having community based organizations on the program sharing with you their insights on their work with the migrant community. And today it's an honor to have representatives from Educators Pride. I'm going to give them the opportunity in a few to introduce themselves. But just so you know, this program is under our community based organization. This program is under our Communities Responding in Emergencies initiative, which is funded by the Delegation of the European Union here in Guyana. And now, a very good afternoon to Miss Elisa Koo and Miss
Priya Ruplau.
Priya
Good
Ruplau.
afternoon to you.
How are you guys doing this afternoon?
Great, we're great.
Yes, we're doing
How
fine.
about you?
I'm doing great. Not feeling so good, but yes, it's an honor to be here, to have you on our conversation and hear all about the work that you've been doing within the migrant community and also under the CRIE project. I want to hear first, I'm going to give you the opportunity to tell me a bit about yourself, what you do at Educators Pride, and so on, so that our viewers can get familiar with you. Starting with you.
Oh, sure. Well, I'm Priya Ruplau, as I would have introduced earlier. I'm the Vice President of Educators Pride, but without titles, we work as educators in our organization with the locals and the migrant families.
Hi, my name is Alisa Koo, and I'm an executive member at Educators Pride. I have been working with the migrant families for the past 1 year now.
Okay, that's great to know. And I guess, Priya, you can tell me, a bit about Educators Pride, the background, maybe how did the organization get started. I want to hear a bit, especially about, how do you come up with the name and so on.
Okay, well, we are Educators Pride. We are a registered child-friendly society, and really this organization is the brainchild of our president, Miss Indrani Ramnarain, and she came up with this idea, and it was because it was formed in the height of the pandemic in 2020, where children were not having, those children who were not having access to online learning, especially the primary level. So you have a group of children who were able to access these resources, and you have some who hadn't any tutelage at all. And so she would have came up with the idea of recruiting educators from various schools along the East Bank corridor. And she brought it to our attention that, this is what we have, this is what I have in mind. I want to foster cognitive development through collaboration, promote literacy, and work with these children, provide an individualized instruction, meet with them, give them a chance. And when we heard her idea, we were definitely on board. And so the name, we sat and we came up with a host of organization names. We were like, we call it teachers group, what group? there were so many names at that time. And then we recognized that, the children are our future, because our motto we would have also carved out to be our children, our future, our priority. And with that, we said, you know what? This is our pride. So hence the name Educators Pride. And that's how we were formed, with a mandate to empower communities through education and collaboration.
That's really great to hear.
Yeah.
I want to hear a bit more about your partnership with ChildLinK. How did that get started and so on?
Okay, well, as I would have mentioned earlier, the initial mandate of our organization, is to promote and enhance literacy and numeracy with the locals, provide the individualized instruction. Because what we wanted to do, even though we would have met with one child or 8 children from the locals, the local community, we still looked at it as, here what, we are going to impact 8 families. And so when we say 8 families, we're also including parents, guardians. And ChildLinK came in here because there were areas where we found that we needed more than just educational services. We needed to provide psychosocial support. We had children with issues in their household. We needed guidance and counseling sessions. And Ms. Ramnarayan, our president, with her years of relationship with the organization, as you know, that's their work area where they host a lot of activities or workshops on gender-based violence, sexual abuse, and we came on board with them. We let them know what we wanted to do as an organization, and they right away they were excited to have us on board. And by extension, through the delegation of the European Union, during that same time, we had the surge of the migrants. And in our local groups, we had a few of the migrants. And so with that, they brought to the table that here's what we have, this project, the communities responding in emergencies, and we need CPOs like yours to work with the people, the migrant families. And she brought it to the table with the members, and right away we were like, you know what, we will extend our services from that. We still have our locals, but we'll also extend to the migrant families, the children there. And there everything took flight, and it has been an ineffable experience for us because we were exposed to so much. We've learned so much, and the relationship we would have developed with ChildLinK through this project is commendable, because we have been providing so many services to so many more families through this organization.
And going on to these services, I guess Ms. Koo will be able to
We
discuss
can both.
it.
Yeah,
we can both
elaborate
share.
more on the services.
Yeah, specifically, those that are offered to the migrant community, and maybe you can also state which communities you work in.
Right. So we initially we are in Grove Diamond, the Grove Diamond community. Within that jurisdiction, the services under the project, let me just put them into categories. So starting with education, because that's the overarching theme of our acquaintance. We would have, which was a very serious issue on the table, the enrollment and the integration of learners into the public school system. So that was one of the first things we started. Ms. Koo will elaborate more on the figures, how many we have done so far. We provide basic stationery supplies that they would need so they can carry out their day-to-day activities in school life. And in terms of health, now we've been into these areas and we've seen the impoverished state, the deplorable state. I mean, it's not by choice. And we recognize that hygiene and health, there's serious health issues there with the children, especially, and families. And so what we do when there are the health centers, we try to acquire as much as we can in terms of multivitamins, masks, because like I said, it was in the height of the COVID pandemic. And antibacterial ointment, treatments, whatever it is we can to help them, because the language barrier, as you know, is a major factor, and they were not able to access these resources. They didn't know how to go. So we were that link to them to help them to have the access to these resources. So that's through help, psychosocial. We also have on our team a certified psychologist. Through workshops with ChildLinK, we've been engaged in guidance and counseling sessions too. And so we provide that to the parents. I might stray a bit away here, but I'm going to go back. I should have mentioned this first and foremost. Through education, we also provide conversational English classes, English to Spanish to English classes. So these children can go back to their homes and help their parents, because like I mentioned, language, is a major barrier. In terms of employment, we even went to the extent of creating CVs for these migrants. So we've recognized, when we were through the mapping phase of the project, we've recognized that we have a lot of skillful persons here too, and they have no idea how to take opportunities of these vacancies that exist. So once we would recognize them, we would bring it to the table, or we would engage these employers to integrate them and and have some form of diversity in their work setting, and encourage them, because they are skillful, and they are humans too. So in our humanitarian duty, we ensure that we had that part with our services.
That's really great to hear about all these services that you offer on these specific areas, especially on the education. You would have mentioned the Spanish to English and English to Spanish classes. I want to hear some success stories on all these category: employment, health services, psychosocial counseling. I want to hear exactly how were you able to like help these individuals, these children, maybe when it comes to the Spanish to English classes, how did that help them? Maybe if it improved them in with their school work. You mentioned they can be able to go back and help their parents and so on. But I want to hear specifically from you, about these success
Of
stories.
course, Miss School.
Yes, so I've been working with the Venezuelan migrant for about a year now. And like Miss Ruplal mentioned before, there are so many services that Educators Pride has already given to the Venezuelan migrant. They have benefited from those services for the past 3 to 4 years now. So the children has developed their English skills or their literacy and numeracy skills, whereas they became translators for their families. So the families are also benefiting financially from our intervention, as well as socially and academically. So the children are the translators for their families. With the help of Educators Pride, the registration process, and they are getting their documents, they go into the community and they are employed. By that, it's providing financially for families too. So it's helping them to come out of that impoverished state. I cannot give specific story with one parent, but what I can say, it has impacted many families on the CDAM. We have also worked with the religious community on the CDAM also, Diamond Grove CDAM, and we helped in the construction of a church. So by sustaining faith, it will help family in this difficult time in trying to be a part of our Guyanese society.
That's right. Anything maybe you want to add that you didn't touch on? Maybe you can think of?
Um, well, if we elaborate on the classes, I mean, when we say we are providing educational services, not just we're going there and teaching them the alphabet and to learn the English language. We are integrating them into society. And Miss Koo here, an excellent educator with them in the area. She has been working with several methods: differentiated instruction,
Yes.
culture responsive strategies.
Along with collaborative teaching, we have been working with the migrants providing. Well, first we started with having one of their own translate for them, because remember, we're dealing with children that do not know any English. So we had a translator that worked with the children, the migrant children, between the ages of 6 to 12. And with that, they started developing the conversational English. Also, we moved on into introducing letters and sound, blending, and now from enrollment of 30 children, we have about 15 who are consistent because of other challenges. From that 15, we have 8 children that can read at a grade 1 level, and we have about 13 children that can speak fluent English.
Right?
Yes.
And I really wanted you to elaborate on the culture responsive strategies where, they have their culture in Venezuela and it's different. And Miss Koo here, we would all ensure that if there's Easter and whether it's Pago and how we do things, we have them participate in activities. And we have a lot of pictures.
Yes, we have them
show.
involved in all activities that we have, all of our observances in Guyana, as well as some of their observances that
And
they
they
may
share
have.
as well with us.
So we bring a form of inclusion in our method of delivering and responding to the community.
Yeah.
Yes, and hearing these stories and what you guys have been doing, the work is so much, and I want to say kudos to you and your organization.
Thank you.
And we have so
Yes.
much more to do. We have so much more to give.
That's right. And when it comes to psychosocial counseling, can you say, or talk about some of the areas you would have done counseling on with the migrant community?
Working with the migrant community, first we had a workshop with included them, and we talked about integration of Spanish speakers into our society. So we had local and migrants, and we also talk about child sexual abuse. So we give them avenues where they can seek help if there's any issue that is happening in their areas also. We also provided guidance and counseling with family matters, planned parenting,
Yeah,
and
that
so on.
and that's some of the cases would require private sessions. Like I mentioned, we have a psychologist in our team as well, and so through him, he also would work with us, and so in turn they would have those sessions with those parents.
Yes,
Yeah.
bullying was also an issue
Yes.
that arose during the children being integrated into the public school. So that was another area that our psychologists talk or had sessions with children.
He's also a member of our organization, Mr. Prasad. So, yeah.
That's really awesome. Can you share, with us how many migrants you would have worked with? Maybe if you had a target under the project, if you would have surpassed that target, and so on, and also how many beneficiaries were migrant children?
Um, yeah, Ms. Koo will elaborate more on that indeed.
With
But
the movement of the children back and forth from Venezuela to Guyana, we were not able to give an exact number, but approximately 500 to 550 children benefited from our academic services as well as healthcare. We had about 400 to 450 persons who receive services such as um, food, clothing,
Yeah.
and school supplies. And we also have about 200 to 300 that benefited from the guidance and counseling services, as well as other opportunities
Registration.
such as registration and employment.
That's really
So,
good.
so even though there was a set target, numbers are there, but we wanted to ensure that, quality superseded any quantity, because we can say we've met with 2003, but how many have we impacted? And so we were very specific in how we were providing those services and ensuring that we follow up and track those progresses, throughout.
Yeah, and let's talk now about your collaboration with other organizations, not only ChildLinK, because I'm sure while you're offering these services, you would also collaborate, with other organizations, whether it's faith-based organizations and so on in these communities to help improve your work or improve the services that you would provide. So tell me a bit more about these collaborations, who you would have collaborated and so on.
In terms of the faith-based, it is in our plan. We would have reached out to persons with the faith-based organization, but how to explain in terms of that?
I think before we start to talking about our collaboration, we can talk about the response that we had from the community,
Yeah, so
from our locals. It was with reluctance, I would say, because when the Venezuelans came, many persons did not know that some of those same Venezuelans or those Spanish-speaking migrants were Guyanese. So we had to bring a form of sensitization to the public so that we can start building collaborations. We can start collaborating with other businesses so that we can help the migrants.
Right. So we were in a battle of, as you know, there was the tension with the border issue and so on, and so there was this level of xenophobia. We tried to work as hard as possible, like Miss would have mentioned, to destigmatize that, because some of and that's why we maintained and we had that balance. Even though we were working on the CRIE project, we still focus on our locals too, and so sensitization is really important. So when we reached out to persons for help, the collaboration, we looked at persons who were willing in the community to provide any services that they could to these families, if they wanted to provide hampers, whatever way, especially during the holidays. And so we had persons reached out, and we took the opportunity there. We M&M Snack It, they're always on board with us, and they provide snacks and juices and stuff for the children as well, both locals as well. And we have in plan to continue with this collaboration. Um, but ChildLinK and the CRIE project has so far been sufficient with the resources and everything that
The
we have.
Ministry of Education has also donated tablets so that we
Yeah.
can
Oh yes.
include or integrate technology in our teaching, in
Yes.
delivering or reaching our objectives.
And books and so on, because
Yes.
we work with them with those books and so on. So we have persons, but in the community we're trying to build that right now. That's a little struggle. We're trying to build that, you know, that 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 bond or
Relationship
that
with-
relationship, so that they can understand the plight in which the migrant families are going through.
Yes, and of course that comes with time.
Right,
Yes.
right.
And that was one of the challenges you're facing within the communities also. So can you maybe go into explaining more challenges that you would have faced over the years with your work, and maybe challenges that you would have also observed within the migrants community that they would face?
Well, delivering the academic work that we've been providing for the migrant children and the family, many challenges came where participation of migrant family was an issue, because many families, both parents are working, or there is only one person who is providing for the family. So in that case, when we have workshops or we have any celebrations or observances, it would be very difficult to get the migrants to the location that we have so that we can integrate the culture. So that was one of the issue, the participation of the migrant parents. The children, they are very willing.
Yes.
They are willing. They love learning, I can say. But one of the issue that we have is punctuality. And as I mentioned earlier, the children are moving back to Venezuela, so we have dropouts. We also have some of the children who have to help with the chores at home. And the others may go with their parents to sell or to work with them. So because of that, we're not getting to reach the 30 that we would enroll every year.
The consistency.
The consistency is not there. But the 15 that I mentioned earlier, those are the ones who are always there, and they're benefiting from our classes that we provide for them.
Any other challenges?
Well, apart from what we would have mentioned, the language barrier, that's a major hindrance, because and the culture to integrate it, they're not familiar with these things, and so they're afraid at most times to express, and they don't have sometimes they're not aware of the line of, or the chain of communication, how to get things and how to do things, and so that's why we're there. But we're also struggling with the language.
Yes.
So
Even reaching the migrant to provide services was one problem, one issue, or one challenge for us, because the location of the
Yeah, which is what I
migrant,
mentioned,
the location of the migrant is on the dam. When it rains, we couldn't provide service for them.
yeah.
And also the track to get to the dam, it
It's-
was in a deplorable state. You had to pray before you,
you have
walk
to be
over
there
the
to
bridge.
see it. It's sad. It's a really sad situation. So we're now accommodated actually on somewhere else, right?
Yes.
Because of that, it's really
One
a
of-
risk
yeah.
for our members as well as the children, especially during the inclement weather conditions. It's really bad. Apart from hygiene, it's not safe. So those are some of the challenges we face, and to bring them out, because we do this weekly, and to have them come out and overcome these battles, it takes a lot from our members as well as the children, because
But
they're going
we
through
must
this.
say that
They-
there is someone in the community, in the
Yes.
Grove community, that has allowed us to work under her home so that we can provide the services to the migrant children. So we're not missing any Saturdays.
and same for our locals. We're working under the home also of our president. So we have cooperation. We have cooperation too.
And when it comes to better access to healthcare services, and maybe when it comes to their location, and you guys getting proper access to that location during certain weather conditions and so on, what do you think can be done to overcome these challenges, or so that better services can be provided to the migrants?
I think what we need to do is have a point person there, to communicate with us because there is a public hospital there. There are health centers there, so they do go there to get the services. But some persons, like I said, they don't know, and so we would say that a point person who can communicate with us constantly and bring these issues to our attention would definitely help. Because how do we access them? Sometimes it's one person. We have to actually go
Yes,
onto the
go
CDAP
onto the
to
DAR.
get them. There's no communication really with phones and so on. So I think some
Because
lines,
they try to reach out to whenever there are any outreach for healthcare services and so on. We try to reach out to a few families, but as soon as they hear that you're talking in English, they would cut off the phone.
yeah, so, and I think we need more health fairs, to be organized, and especially the Grove. I mean, it's such a vast community. More health fairs because there are free medical checkups done there, and you don't need the language to access these resources. It's free, and people will provide those services. So, in addition to the health center, more health fairs within this jurisdiction or beyond the jurisdiction. All right, I mean, I haven't seen a health fair there about for the past months, right? In terms of not just blood pressure or those other things, maybe dental for the children as well, especially children. So more health fairs, I would recommend. If we collaborate with Ministry of Health to bring that to light, that we need more health fairs in these communities, and it would not just benefit local, the migrant families, locals also. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And back in January, ChildLinK would have hosted a workshop, a stakeholders workshop for the migrant community. Can you maybe give some feedback on that session, and also how do you think that these agencies that were present at the workshop, the different government agencies and other CBOs and so on, how can they better improve on their collaboration so that we can all improve our services towards the migrant community?
Firstly, I must say that workshop was well organized. I think it was a commendable effort or initiative hosted by ChildLinK, as you mentioned. What I really love about it is that they included these agencies, these stakeholders, and the migrant families. They had representatives from these different locations and the CBOs there, and there was a translator on board too. And so these migrant families were able to actually bring the issues to the forum and with the stakeholders there to address them. And we had Ministry of Education, and they would have emphasized on their language acquisition programs and the need for equal access to education for migrant families. We had at the workshop there was public services, which
Ministry of
extended
Public
their
Service.
social services efforts that they have been making, and I think the commander of police, they would have also recognized the surge in the crime rate and some of because of the stigma, what they have been faced with, and so they were talking about enhancing community policing. So with these, it was such a comforting experience to see that the agencies had so much to offer, but what I found was that when you ask the question, how can they improve, is the establishing a clear chain of communication or line of communication, because there are programs, the ministries are providing programs for the migrant families, but many are not aware of it. And so I would suggest that these agencies have representatives to work with the CBOs, or we also reach out as well, but they can also have a representative with us checking on us, because we are there in the fields. We have been mapping those areas, and so we know what's happening on the ground, and so we can better communicate these services, because the CBOs would have learned a great deal too of these programs that were offered. So I think through establishing that clear line of communication and having the interagency where we have representatives on board with us would be a great move to better improve that collaboration.
Yeah, and in the long run, improve services provided by
Right.
all of these organizations. What can we look forward to coming next from Educators Pride? What goals or initiatives do you have planned to expand or improve on your services that you're providing not only to the migrant community but to locals as
Yeah.
well?
Well, we have been expanding. We've started with just 8, like I said, in 2020, and we had several annual prize giving ceremonies for our each cohort, and then we've extended now to the migrant families. And so our future plan is in alignment with our mandate, collaboration. So we plan to continue collaborating with stakeholders and agencies, have this inter relationship with them, and not just the large stakeholders, but community-based organizations. Like I mentioned earlier, we are going to reach out more to those faith-based organizations, have them come on board, more sensitization, more workshops to have them understand the plight in which the migrant families are going through. And we've worked with migrant families, and like I said, we had to have them in cohorts, but what we also plan to do is to ensure we track their progress. So even though they're going out back into the world and they would have passed through our organization, we're not just letting them go. We're going to still communicate with them to follow up and to see how far they've gone, and not just leave them there to go on. We want to know what's happening still, even though we're working with new migrants, and the continuous recruitment and movement of them. We want to keep track of all of their progresses throughout, and collaboration, like I've mentioned. So we'll continue.
Collaboration so that we can also build skills, have skill building with our migrants also to further enhance their skills so that it can help with employment and the development of the Diamond Grove community.
Yeah, at large, and that involves locals and the migrant families. So you can have this social cohesion with everything for our organization.
I think that's a really great plan you got in store there. Where can persons get in touch with you guys? Maybe you want to share your contact information if you're on social media and so on.
All right, so we have a Facebook page, Educators Pride, and through there we use the messenger platform. Any message, any person wants to reach out to us, we would communicate from there, and we follow up with we haven't an office directly, but through that medium we reach out to anyone, and we also, in the community, we invite persons when we have those workshops, so through there they will also get to know about our organization.
That's really great.
Yes.
So Educators Pride on Facebook. That's going. Is it still the platform that's going? Because I heard it's now Instagram.
Well, and there's TikTok too.
Okay,
that
good.
The young people
We might have to make some
gravitate
TikToks.
towards. Yes, the young people tend to gravitate towards TikTok.
Okay.
What would you like to share before we wrap things up this afternoon? Maybe a brief message to our viewers.
You want to, Randy?
I think we should break the stigma that goes towards Venezuelan families, Spanish-speaking persons, because like I said earlier, some of those Spanish-speaking persons are Guyanese, and they can enjoy the good life that we're having now, and all the resources that we have too.
Thank you.
We have a humanitarian duty to fulfill in life, and we should not discriminate. When we're inviting persons, it should be done indiscriminately, and a lack of education is a serious issue that we have. Persons are willing to help, but they're not aware of what's happening, and so awareness is very important, and that's something we definitely have on plan. We need to let persons understand that the human rights law, because persons don't realize that even though yes, we have a state, you have to take care of your citizens, that human rights law, that international human rights law, says that there's an obligation the state has. Whomever is in that jurisdiction, in your country's jurisdiction, they have the right to basic necessities too. And so we're just fulfilling that simple humanitarian right, even if it means from a simple organization as Educators Pride. And we've started with such a small group of locals, and we've extended with ChildLinK, and so many more organizations should come on board. And if we start with one, we extend to 5 to 10, and we'll definitely be able to help each and every one and help them to integrate into society.
Thank you very much,
Yes.
for coming today to share about your experiences and the work that you're doing within the migrant community in the Diamond Grove area. Hearing about the services, the success stories. It's so much that you guys are doing as a community-based organization. I want to congratulate you on the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And of course, we at ChildLinK look forward to continuing our partnership with Educators Pride. Once again, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here. And I look forward to chatting with both of you again sometime
Definitely.
in the
And you
future.
too for having us here. Thank you for
Yes.
having
Thank you
us.
for having us.
Definitely. And also thank you to our viewers for tuning in and following our discussion this afternoon. It falls under our CRIE project, which is funded by the Delegation of the European Union in Guyana. Once again, thank you and do enjoy the rest of your afternoon.